I stood across the street, watching FBI agents load evidence boxes, while my former boss got arrested in the MedTech parking lot. 6 months earlier, he'd fired me for refusing to approve spinal implants we both knew would fail inside veterans' bodies. He thought I'd just disappear. But that morning, watching him in handcuffs, he finally understood. I'd spent every day since my firing building the case that would destroy him. This is that story. My name is John Miller. For 15 years, I worked as head of quality control at MedTech Solutions, inspecting titanium spinal implants that would literally hold people's lives together. You probably don't think much about medical devices until you need one. Then suddenly, the difference between a perfect component and a flawed one is the difference between walking and paralysis. A high-end medical device is like a precision watch. Hundreds of parts working together. One microscopic flaw, and people die. That's not hyperbole, that's math. I took the job seriously, maybe too seriously. Every morning I'd get to the lab early, usually before 7, and start my inspections. The lab had this specific smell, sterile, metallic, with a hint of machine oil from the testing equipment. After 15 years, that smell meant home more than my actual house did. My daughter Emma changed how I saw the work. When she turned 16, doctors diagnosed her with severe scoliosis. Her spine was crushing her lungs. She needed surgery using the exact type of implants I inspected every day. The procedure would cost $300,000, but MedTech's insurance covered everything. Dad, you make sure these things work, right? Emma asked the night before her consultation. That's literally my only job, sweetheart. Then Richard Vance became my boss, and everything went to hell. I'd trained Richard myself when he joined the company 5 years earlier. Smart guy, MBA from Wharton, always carried this leather portfolio like he was heading to a board meeting. I taught him our testing protocols, showed him how to spot defects that most people would miss. He seemed to get it back then. He even seemed to care. But when corporate promoted him over me, something about fresh perspectives, Richard changed. Or maybe he just showed who he really was. We need to talk about efficiency, Richard announced during his second week as department head. He'd called a meeting in the sterile conference room that overlooked the production floor. We're at 98% approval rate, I told him. Harman Industries runs at 99.5. They have different standards. Exactly. Different, not better. That's when I noticed his new watch. An A. Lange Sona. I recognized it because my late father had collected watches, taught me about them before he died. This one was worth maybe 90 grand. Richard wasn't a watch guy before. This was new. The thing about Richard, he wasn't stupid. That's what made him dangerous. He genuinely believed the FDA standards were outdated, that we were slowing down medical progress with excessive testing. Do you know how many people die waiting for devices that are stuck in quality control? He asked me once. Sometimes the greater good means accepting calculated risks. He'd worked at 2 startups before MedTech, places where move fast and break things was gospel. Except here, the things that broke were people's spines. The real problem started with batch SF 4491, 300 spinal fusion kits that my team flagged for microscopic stress fractures. These weren't visible to the naked eye, but under surgical pressure, they'd fail. Not immediately, that would be too obvious. They'd last maybe 18 months, 2 years if the patient was lucky. These are rejected, I told Richard, sliding the test results across his desk. Test them again. I wrote our testing protocol, Richard. These will fail. He opened a folder. The board approved new guidelines. Microscopic imperfections under 0.003 millimeters are now considered acceptable. Acceptable for who? The shareholders, or the patients. Don't be dramatic. These are going to veterans' hospitals, which is perfect. Their inspection process is minimal. That's not perfect. That's criminal. Richard stood up, walked to the window. Outside, October rain was starting to fall. John, your daughter needs surgery soon. Is that a threat? It's a reminder that we all have priorities. Sign the approval. No. Then clear out your desk. Security walked me out the next morning. 2 guards I'd known for years wouldn't make eye contact as they watched me pack. The official termination letter cited inability to adapt to evolving industry standards. Corporate speak for wouldn't play ball. Emma's surgery was in 8 weeks. Without insurance, we were screwed. Sarah, my wife, tried to stay positive. Something will work out, she kept saying. But I could hear her crying in the bathroom at night. She was already working double shifts at the hospital. Emma's condition was deteriorating faster than expected. The curve in her spine had increased 5 degrees in just 6 weeks. Dr. Patterson, her physician, was getting concerned. We can't wait much longer, he told us during a consultation I couldn't afford. But if we can manage the pain and do physical therapy, we might be able to hold steady for 6 to 8 months maximum. After that, the surgery becomes much more complex. Emma had stopped playing violin. She couldn't hold the position anymore without pain. I'd find her doing breathing exercises at night, trying to expand lungs that were slowly being compressed. She never complained, which somehow made it worse. One night she asked me, "Dad, am I going to die?" I lied and said no, but without insurance, without surgery, I wasn't sure I was lying. I applied everywhere, sent out 40-something resumes, had 8 interviews, got 0 offers. Richard had apparently made some calls. In the medical device industry, being labeled difficult is career suicide. By week 4 of unemployment, we were drowning. Cobra insurance would have cost us $2,400 a month. Impossible on unemployment benefits. Without it, Emma's surgery would be $300,000 out of pocket. We burned through our savings just on her consultations and pain management. I sold my father's watch collection, 12 vintage pieces I'd planned to pass to Emma someday. Got $8,000 from a dealer who definitely knew I was desperate. Sarah sold her engagement ring and bought a cubic zirconia replacement, thinking I wouldn't notice. I noticed. We borrowed $15,000 from Sarah's parents, who were living on Social Security. The shame of taking money from elderly people who had less than us was almost unbearable. But we were trying to save enough for Emma's surgery, and shame doesn't pay medical bills. 3 weeks into unemployment, desperately searching for any news about medtech that might help my job search, I saw an article in Medical Device Weekly. Richard at some charity gala for veterans. The irony made me sick. His watch was prominent in the photo. The article praised his revolutionary efficiency improvements. MedTech's output had increased 15% in a single quarter. That watch kept bothering me. I did some searching. It was an A. Lang Sohn, worth about 90 grand. Richard made good money, but not that good. I pulled out my work journal. 15 years of notes, observations, things that didn't sit right. My paranoid habit suddenly looked like foresight. October 12th, 3 days before my firing. Maria Rodriguez, one of my inspectors, had called me around 10 at night. "Mr. Miller, Richard's making me change calibration records. If I don't, he says I'm gone. I can't lose this job." If calibration was falsified, every test afterward was meaningless. You could pass anything. I needed help, real help. Gerald Hoffman was a Navy buddy who'd become a whistleblower attorney. We met at a strip mall law office that smelled like old carpet and ambition. "If you're right," Gerald said, "this is major federal fraud. But we need evidence, not theories. How long will this take? To do it right? 6 months minimum. Maybe a year. Emma needs surgery in 2 months. Then we better get started. First, I reached out to Tom Kowalski, a supply clerk at Cincinnati Veterans Medical, another Navy connection. We met at a truck stop diner 40 miles outside the city. Hypothetically, I asked, are you seeing unusual failures with medtech implants? Tom played with his coffee spoon. 3 failures last month. All young veterans. Surgeons blame technique, but these were routine procedures. What batch numbers? He wrote them on a napkin. SF 4491 was there, along with 2 other batches I'd rejected before my firing. Next was Dr. Angela Chen at Cleveland General. I'd found her through medical journals. She'd published a paper questioning unusual implant failures. Her office was cramped, stacked with medical texts and coffee-stained reports. You're him, she said, the whistleblower. Trying to be. 2 of my patients, same batch. The metal didn't just fail, it disintegrated. 30 years of surgery, I've never seen anything like it. She showed me x-rays, images that would haunt me. Metal that should last decades, crumbled like chalk. Would you testify? Get me proof it was intentional, and yes. The money trail was harder. Richard was smart, but Sarah's brother Michael worked in medical supply logistics. Not at MedTech, but close enough to know the industry. MedTech switched to Titan Med 6 months ago, Michael mentioned during Sunday dinner. 20% more expensive than their previous supplier. Makes no business sense. Unless someone was getting paid to make that switch. Gerald helped me dig through public records, SEC filings, corporate registrations. We found Vance Solutions LLC, registered in Delaware just before Richard's promotion. The LLC had received consulting payments from Titan Med. The payments lined up perfectly with batches of approved implants. This is good, Gerald said. But we need the smoking gun. The smoking gun called me. Maria Rodriguez, using a prepaid phone. I kept everything, she whispered. Original calibration records, emails, all of it. I'm sending it to your lawyer. Maria, you're brave. No, I'm terrified. But those were veterans getting hurt. My brother's a veteran. Maria's evidence was damning. She'd been smarter than I gave her credit for. Every time Richard ordered her to falsify a calibration, she'd run the real test first, then save both results. She had photographs of components that failed real testing, but passed the falsified ones. She'd forwarded emails to her personal account, recorded conversations on her phone. I knew it was wrong, she told Gerald during her deposition. But I have $90,000 in student loans, and my mother has cancer. I couldn't afford to lose my job, so I documented everything, hoping someone would eventually stop it. She'd risked federal charges herself by admitting to falsifying documents, even under duress. The federal prosecutor granted her immunity in exchange for her cooperation, but she didn't know that would happen when she decided to come forward. That took real courage. By month 5, we had assembled everything. Falsified records, failed implants, financial trails, patient harm, and Richard's signature on every approval. Gerald filed under the False Claims Act. If successful, the government would recover millions, and I'd get a percentage. But money wasn't the point. Once we file, Gerald warned, Richard will know eventually. He'll come after you. Good. Let him waste his money on lawyers. The waiting was hell. Every day I expected Richard's lawyers at my door, or worse, private investigators digging through our trash, following Sarah to work. One night, our home phone rang at 3 a.m. Heavy breathing, then a hang-up. Could have been a wrong number. Probably wasn't. I installed security cameras the next day, bought a baseball bat I kept by the bed. Sarah pretended not to notice. Gerald said this was normal, that defendants always tried intimidation before trial. They're scared, he said. Scared people do stupid things. but it was my family in the crosshairs. The FBI raid happened on a drizzly Tuesday morning. I sat in my car across from MedTech, watching agents carry out boxes. Richard arrived in his Porsche, saw the scene, tried to leave. They arrested him in the parking lot. His expensive watch glinted in the weak sunlight as they cuffed him. The investigation uncovered 18 months of fraud, 23 failed devices, 4 paralyzed patients, 1 death, a 22-year-old Marine who survived Afghanistan only to be betrayed by a medical device. Richard had pocketed $340,000 in kickbacks while billing the government $2.3 million for defective products. He got 10 years federal time. Not enough, but something. The trial took 6 more months. I testified for 3 days, explaining every technical detail, every falsified report, every corner cut. Richard's defense attorney tried to paint me as a disgruntled employee. The evidence painted me as right. MedTech avoided corporate prosecution by cooperating fully and agreeing to massive reforms. 8 months after the raid, they offered me a consulting contract. Not my old job, that would be too obvious, but double my previous salary, full benefits, and complete autonomy to rebuild their quality control from scratch. "You can't be serious about going back," Sarah said. "It's not about going back. It's about making sure this never happens again." My first day as a consultant, Maria met me in the parking lot. She was chief inspector now. "I should have spoken up sooner," she said. "You spoke up when you could. That's what matters." The quality team had pitched in on a gift, a simple Seiko watch. Reliable, accurate, honest. They'd had it engraved, "Truth takes time." Emma's surgery finally happened 2 weeks after I signed the consulting contract. We'd stretched her condition to the absolute limit. 11 months since my firing, managing with physical therapy and pain medication, watching her spine curve worsen every month. But now, with MedTech's insurance restored, Dr. Chen could operate immediately. She used implants from a batch I personally verified after returning to MedTech. Every component had passed through my hands, tested with properly calibrated equipment, approved without pressure or compromise. Emma's recovering well. She's applying to pre-med programs now, inspired by Dr. Chen. "I want to help people," she says, "but like actually help them." Sarah asked me once if the whole ordeal was worth it. The stress, the risk, the months of uncertainty. I thought about the Marine who died, about the veterans in wheelchairs, about Richard in his federal cell. I thought about Maria finding courage, about Dr. Chen refusing to stay quiet, about Tom risking his job to help. "Every machine has a breaking point," I told her. "Sometimes you have to apply exactly the right pressure at exactly the right spot to expose the weakness." Richard thought he was building something efficient. He was really building evidence. The Seiko ticks steadily on my wrist. Nothing fancy, just functional. It keeps perfect time, which is all a watch needs to do. I heard Richard's A. Lang Sohn was auctioned for his legal fees. It sold for 30% below market value. Apparently, the mechanism had a flaw. The buyer returned it. There's probably a metaphor there, but I'm too tired to find it. Last month, I received a letter from a Marine who'd had his failed implant replaced. He's running marathons now. The letter was short. "Thank you for giving a damn." I keep that letter in my desk drawer, next to my old work journal. Every morning I arrive at the lab early, not at some poetic time, just early, and begin my inspections. The work isn't glamorous. It's not exciting, but it's necessary. A watchman's job is simple. Keep honest time, no matter the pressure to run fast or slow. That's all any of us can do.